World Europa presents
Calling Europe, the first pan-European speed podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to our next episode of our Pan-European Speed podcast. I am really happy to introduce to you today Xenia Ivanova, who is talking to us from Berlin.
Hello everybody. How are you, Eileen?
I'm good. Thank you, Xenia. It's really nice to have you here. Now, you are in Berlin, but actually, usually you're not in Berlin. Is that correct?
Right. Actually, I'm based in Paris, but I'm stuck in Berlin since March. And I decided to stay some more months until the end of summer.
So summer in Berlin instead of Paris.
Exactly. It's way better, actually.
Berlin's better in the summer than Paris.
In summer, yes, because there's much more space and much more green trees and open parks and so on.
And I'm guessing you're getting the bonus of not having tourists around this year.
Exactly.
And now let's go to the first part of our podcast.
The profile.
Xenia, where in Europe do you live?
Where do I live? In Paris.
And when did you join Volt?
It was in, I think, my first contact was in July 2018, and I joined, I think, by the end of August 2018, so more than 2 years ago. That is quite a lot for Volt.
What do you do at Volt?
Now I'm co-lead for expansion on the European level, but I used also to be a strategy coordinator and vice president of Volt France.
And the very last question is, where is your favorite place in Europe?
Paris and Berlin, but many more places actually. It's just very hard to say because it depends of if it's for living or for vacation. It's just very, very different. And I also love Italy, for example, and I don't know, also Scandinavian countries like Stockholm. It depends.
I love Europe.
I love Europe, exactly.
So thank you for your answers, Xenia. Now we're going to come to the main part of our podcast where we will ask you some not so standard questions.
The 3 questions. Question number 1.
Question number 1 is, what is something you learned through Volt that improved your life? So, for example, maybe a Volter that told you a bizarre life hack that you learned and you use every day now, or something that you learned through your work with Volt.
I think I have learned a lot of random facts through Volt, and it surely improved my life.
Can you think of a bizarre fact that you learned?
Not really. I just can't remember right now, but surely there was something.
You need to share your own workplace if you remember it.
Exactly. People do a random group for just random facts.
Another group.
Another group. There are not enough. But the most impressive thing I learned through Volt is just that you can really meet people who empower you to do what you want to do, and in very different ways, just because everybody has a different character, a different mentality, but everybody a lot of people follow this rule just to give enough energy and enough power to a person to achieve what he or she wants to achieve.
Yeah.
And it's really great.
Yeah, I personally think I find that one of the most remarkable things about the atmosphere of the way that we at least want to. We don't always do it as well as we could, but I think very often we make such a great effort of empowering and building new leadership. And I think that is one of the greatest things that have really come out of Volt in the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know personally, I never would have seen myself in any sort of leadership position 2 years ago, 3 years ago, never. And then we have so many young people that are 17 or 18 or 19, and so many women that would potentially never have seen themselves in a leadership position and now are in one. And I think that is such a fantastic thing that Volt is doing, actually.
Yeah, me too. And also that we managed to talk to all parts of society, or we try at least, and we say also that we don't know everything. Is just also a big force that we admit it, because a lot of other political parties don't do that, and just try to implement something without even having a real profound knowledge on it. And we can say okay, we don't know a lot about it, but let's start to improve our knowledge, and then we can come to a conclusion or to a decision what we can do further, like what are our further steps. And it's a big force, this to me.
Question number 2.
So question number 2, Xenia, is who is someone involved that you think everyone should talk to at some stage? So someone particularly interesting or exciting or positive, anything that you can think of.
Okay, I would say that everybody should talk at least one time in his life or her life to maybe Damian as our deputy, that then, surely our co-presidents, also remarkable people who are leading just a big organization. And I would also mention a very cheerful person who has a big knowledge in history and also different domains of the society. It's Wim Monasso. He's from Volt, Netherlands, and I really love to discuss with him and to share knowledge with him.
It's so interesting because, okay, so until I really felt like you and I had contact points involved, I always felt like you were one of those people that were at every single Vault event that I was at. So I'd go to a German GA and Xenia would just somehow be there. And then there's another GA like 3 months later and it's tiny and Xenia would be there. And I always go, how is she everywhere all the time? But also I feel like Wim is that kind of person too. So I remember I think I saw him, we had this border event throughout the European elections, and I remember seeing him and I was like, okay, cool. And then another GA came up and he was also there. So it's interesting to see that you guys are sort of actually like people that are really engaged in actually going to the events and going to meet people and are very social. And I know Wim posts a lot of things about whatever he's interested in on Workplace and really is outspoken.
Question number 3.
So now we will ask our third and final question for this round. This question is one that Cathal put together because, as you know, the last guest always asks a question for the next one. So this is a question that Cathal wanted to ask you.
Xenia, I would like to ask you what your thoughts on how we can gain more people to Vault, and knowing that you come from Russia but have lived in France, do you think it's easier or there are different themes at play for Vault when it comes to East and Western Europe?
I think, first of all, as we have some time until the European elections that are the most important elections for us at the moment anyway, we should completely restructure our movement just to have really fundamental basics that allow us to go further and to have a very elaborated strategy, how do you call it, pillars of the organization. Like now I was working on diversity, and I think it's a very important part, like gender and diversity inside of our organization. In order to become an authentic organization, we have really to represent inside of what we want to achieve outside. Otherwise, we are not credible. It is not like, maybe it doesn't sound as a first aim of expansion, but actually it helps a lot expansion. We really need like really strong basics inside of Vault, and we have some time now. We have 4 years to go. We should invest time and energy in this, and also work at the same time on policy. What we shall see what is not in our mapping of policies and what we shall introduce, because otherwise we don't achieve people that we want to achieve. Like, for example, with culture, we don't have anything on culture and arts inside of our mapping of policies, and it's a big group of people in our society. So if we don't have it in our mapping of policies, it means we don't have any, or we can't establish any connection to them. or almost not. And it's the same about every group of people. Like even also, if I don't know, if we take ethnic minorities, it's the same. If you don't have enough of them, and if we don't provide any policy for them and on them, then we can't achieve this group of people. Same for women, same for education, whatever. Just any domain, we have to figure out what we need to add to our policies too. And then just normal, usual usual events and through meet and greets, and maybe during the Corona time now we can do some more sports outside and do meet and bike, meet and hike and whatever. But the main objective is now to put some basics to establish a better fundamental.
Thank you, Xenia. I really like the meet and hike. Actually, I'm going to pass that on to my local team because we have really great hiking places around here, and we haven't had any sort of physical meet and greets so far, but I think meet and hike is actually a very good idea.
I actually had a call with the countries around Bodensee, and it's them who just told that they do, meet and hike, meet and paddle. So just, I would love to join them.
Thank you for your answers. However, I will ask the second part of Carl's question again, which is there, in your opinion, a difference in how you expand a team or get people to join Volt in the West and in the East of Europe?
And this is a big question right now because of the development in the Eastern European countries. We need to see how we can engage people without offending them. Like, for example, they have now also laws on LGBTIQ community that are very restrictive and, like, from the Western point of view, not acceptable. But
and even by EU human rights norms, right? I mean,
exactly. It's just I don't want to talk a lot about this negative effects and negative development, because it can really be difficult for them to implement it in their policy or in their activities, as it can put them in danger if they really proclaim this Western European is just democratic thinking, actually. So we need to see how to deal with it. Now we think maybe first we establish not political parties there, but NGOs or think tanks, and just then reconsider this in 1 or 2 years. Maybe the development in these countries will be a little bit different from now on.
Why is there such a difference? Why do people, why do we see this massive rise in, I guess, minimizing LGBT rights, for example, or women's rights in the East of Europe, whereas in countries that would also be extremely conservative in comparison, Ireland, you have this massive rise, and the Eighth Amendment that you can have that women are allowed to have abortions and gay rights and stuff. Why is there such a decline in that in the East, do you think, on a societal level?
I think it has very historical reasons, because in Western Europe we have democracy since after the Second World War, and in Eastern countries since basically 1989. So there's a huge gap between two parts of Europe. And then the Eastern countries were under the power of the former Soviet Union. And there, and this is my perception, it was very important to maintain this vertical power. And that is why religion is so important, or it became so important. Because even now, the leaders are very authoritarian, or quite authoritarian, and they need something that supports this vision of a society. And when we have this parallel between God and the president, like it was I don't know, in the Middle Age, sorry to say it this way. But it supports the power, actually. And this is why, and religion prohibits the liberal ideas, it prohibits the development of the woman, it prohibits the development of different sexual orientation, because it can destroy this picture of the world if people are free.
Wow, it's really quite interesting. That question and that entire discussion, I think, is culturally very interesting to hear.
Your favorite song? So,
Xenia, because we want to put together our podcast, our Vault podcast Spotify playlist, we want to be able to share it with all our Vaulters so they can listen to our Vaulters' favorite songs. Which song would you want to be on the playlist for you?
It's a very hard question, because it depends on my mood and on different times in my life.
I actually understand that. I always feel like when people, it's similar to the question, what's your favorite place in Europe? Because there's so many great places in Europe and there's so many nice songs. It depends on winter. Is it winter or summer? Do I want to go to, Finland or Italy or...
Exactly.
So, Xenia, because our conversation has been so nice, I will ask for you to give us 2 songs that you would want for us to put on the playlist, one for a good mood and one for a bad mood.
Wow, even 2. Okay, I will tell you one. It's Perdu dans la liberté by Giga Paraskiri. And the second one, maybe Pink Martini and Je ne veux pas travailler.
I really don't know both of those. I just understood I don't want to work. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And this is for good mood.
But that is actually great. I really look forward to seeing this playlist, actually, because I'm really interested.
A lot, and the other one is just Lost in the Freedom.
So when you're happy, you get lost in the freedom, and when you're sad, you don't want to work.
Yeah.
But I will definitely listen to those. And we have one final question.
The nomination.
Who would you want to nominate for our next call, and what question would you like to ask him or her?
I would nominate Dan Kniebügel from Slovakia. He is country lead from Slovakia. And I would ask him maybe actually the same questions, or at least the same last question. Then I'd like to ask you, what would you do to develop Vault in Eastern European countries? And what is your vision on the difference between Eastern and Western Europe?
Well, Xenia, thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I really look forward to also hearing our next podcast with Dan. Thank you to everyone who listened to us. And Xenia, talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you a lot. It was a pleasure to meet you here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was
Calling Europe, a production of Voltilova.